Now that you are fully prepared to start questioning your prospect, it's time to discover more about them and find out if what you are selling could help them in the future. And the best way to have the information you need is by asking questions. In sales, you will often hear the term questioning funnel. I like to use a different approach, which I call the questioning tree. Let's take a look at the image on your screen. Imagine that the information you need are leaves on a tree. To access this information or access the leaves, you have to climb the trunk, then you have to navigate the branches and the twigs. One important thing is that you don't know in advance what leaves will give you the best information, and also that the most useful information may not be in only one branch. The three-step questioning process will help you to navigate this tree and to get access to the leaves in the most efficient way. A few things to consider before we move forward. Some of you may say, why don't we ask just the prospect exactly what we want to ask them, so we don't waste time? Well, if we come back to the tree, simply asking directly what we want, it's like shaking the whole tree and waiting for the leaves to fall down on the floor. If the tree could talk, I'm not sure that they wouldn't like that approach. Prospects or clients simply don't like to be shaken for information. Another thing you could think is about jumping from one leaf to another. As we are already at the end of a branch, why don't we just grab a leaf from another one? Now imagine that your prospect is telling you about his boss, that his boss is really demanding and detail-oriented about new suppliers. That's really useful information, by the way, when you are trying to become their current supplier. And then, after hearing that, you just ask, what is your favorite dish? This sounds really funny, doesn't it? So it is better not to jump between branches. So let's come back to our tree now and find out the best way to navigate it to get the information we need. So it all starts by climbing the trunk. The good news is that it has been done already with the previous video on how to prepare your prospects for questioning. Now, to navigate between branches, here we will use a three-step questioning process. This process will prevent you from having to shake the tree and jump between branches. The first step is an open-ended question. The second is called a probing question, and the last step is a closed-ended question. It all starts with an open-ended question. An open-ended question is a question that starts with why, who, what, where, when, etc. Or even a question starting by tell me about. Basically, a question that your prospect or client cannot answer by just saying yes or no. An example of an open-ended question could be, what are the current challenges that you are facing with your supply chain at the moment? Or when was the last time you upgraded your security system? Or maybe, what kind of car are you looking for? And finally, tell me more about what you are looking to achieve at the moment. From that first question, your prospect will start guiding you through one of the branches. And as you can imagine, you have no idea what the answer could be. The second step is what we call a probing question. This is the step where you find out useful information about your prospect. So for example, if you start by asking, what are your current challenges at the moment with your supply chain? The other person might reply, well, we are having major delivery problems at the moment. A probing question could be, really? Tell me more about that. Or, how do you manage these delivery problems? If, for example, you started with the question, what kind of car are you looking for? You may have an answer such as, I am looking for a comfortable car. Your probing question could be, a comfortable car, I see. May I ask, what will you be using your car for? Or maybe, what kind of car are you driving at the moment? As you can see, the probing question is to dig a little bit deeper and find out more. The challenging part of the probing questions is that you cannot prepare them in advance, as you will not know what they will answer. Probing questions requires a little bit of improvisation, and sometimes you will need to use several probing questions. It is something that you have to practice, and you will get better with time and experience. However, here is a quick tip for you that you can use right away. It is called "Tell me more about it." Tell me more about it is a standard probing question. For example, if your client is telling you, "I find it really difficult to use our current software," you could just continue by simply saying, "I see, tell me more about it." If during a meeting your client is saying, "I'm not happy with my current insurance policy," once again, you could say, "Tell me more about it." Of course, if your only questions are, "Tell me more about it," your discussions could start to become rather robotic and unnatural. So vary your probing questions. The final step in the questioning process is the closed-ended questions. A closed-ended question is a question that can be answered with a yes or a no. So when you believe that you have enough information about something, or if by using our tree you have reached a leaf, you should confirm the information with a closed-ended question. For example, you are mentioning that your current provider is not performing as expected. Would you be interested in exploring a different provider? Or, if I had a solution for all your deliveries problems, would you be interested in knowing more? And finally, a last one. If you had some easier software to use, will you change your current one? As you can see, the last step in this process is to confirm the information you have received so far and start gaining commitment from your prospects. I like using closed questions with a high probability of reaching a yes. That's because the word yes is powerful. Studies have shown that when people get used to answering yes to a series of questions, the last question has a higher probability to receive a yes as an answer. And in sales, the last question is usually, "Are you ready to buy?" So try to make your prospects say as many yeses as possible. Now, what happened after the last closed question? Is it finished and can I get home? Absolutely not. You have just explored one branch of the tree. You need to explore more branches. So after your final step in the questioning process, you have to restart the process again from the beginning. In other words, a new open-ended question. A little bit like going back to the tree trunk and moving to another section of the tree. For example, you could restart the process by asking, "I now understand your delivery problems that you are facing. Besides these issues, what other challenges are you facing?" Another example, you mentioned that you believe you are paying too much for your current insurance policy. In an ideal situation, what other things would you like to improve or change in it? Or a third example, at the beginning of our discussions, you mentioned that your boss is really detail-oriented. Tell me more about that. As you can see, we are now exploring another branch of the tree, and you are getting additional information about your prospect. And once you have reached a new leaf, you should restart it once again. The question you may have in mind now is, how many branches or how many times do I have to restart this three-step process? I will say as many times as you need to fully understand your prospects' challenges or expectations. But you have other things to consider as well, such as time or your prospects' responses. Obviously, we all have limited time, so when you see that your analysis is taking too long, it will be wise to wrap things up. Equally, if you see that your client or prospect is start giving you two-word answers or losing patience, you should also considering ending the analysis. There are also no standard rules on how long this questioning should last, as you could find people that they like to get straight to the point or others who like to digress and talk a lot. You should be monitoring the amount of information you are getting against the information you need. This questioning process requires practice, so I recommend you practice it with friends and family. Maybe not trying to sell to them, but maybe finding out a little bit more about their thoughts or lives.